Scalloped fret neck. Always wanted to try one. Didn't have a couple grand to drop on a Ingram Malmsteen fender. Not saying it's not worth it. Probably worth every dime. But don't have that kind of money. So I went the cheaper route, just to kind of see if I could. And I probably got really lucky. Put this together. Kind of a parts caster thing. By the way, if you see void on any of my guitars, that's not a coincidence. It's the channel. It's I can't see a headstock without a name on it. It bugs me. But if you ever wonder what it's like to play a guitar with scalloped frets, it's very strange. It's not going to. It's fun, but it's not going to replace my regular guitar. It's not the first one I would pick up. This one, I call it my Minnesota Vikings guitar. There's no Minnesota branding on it, but it's purple, gold. I've got less than $200 in this guitar, or right around $200. It's a Chinese made neck from eBay. That kind of kicked the whole thing off. I found a company out of Canada that makes these bodies, and I would give them credit, but I don't remember their name. And apparently I have misplaced my order form. So, you know, if I find it before I edit this, I will give them credit. The most expensive thing on this guitar is basically this bridge. It's just in case you're wondering, this is actually a Floyd Rose original. And by original, I mean it's literally not only a Floyd Rose original, but it's also based off their first original bridge. Note the complete lack of any fine-tuning adjustments. Apparently Eddie Van Halen suggested that when he figured out that you had to compensate for the tuning. When you locked the nut down, it would pull it sharp, so you'd have to kind of compensate before you locked it down, and that's tricky. So he wanted a way to adjust it after he locked it down, which makes sense. That could be wrong. I couldn't find it online. I'm bad at researching, but it's just a story I got. Anyway, this does have the locking system, hence the strings on backward. Here's the thing. Anytime you can have a locking bridge, doesn't matter if you have a lock nut or just a regular nut. Anytime you can have a bridge that locks, you should consider stringing it backwards instead of deballing the strings. Not just because it makes it quicker, because you don't have to cut the ends off and lock them here and then wrap them up there, or traditional, but the reason I do it, I knew this kid named Alan back in high school. Brought an Ibanez RG to school. Had a lock and trim. I don't remember if it was a Floyd or if it was the Edge system by then. All I remember is it locks, and he made a great point. He had it strung backward. And I asked him why he did that. His dad, who had been a musician for years, taught him the trick. And basically, if you notice, even though they're strung backward, it has a couple wraps on it. I will get to that in a minute. Basically, if you have a way to lock it on this end, the reason it's not important to have a lock nut is because it literally turns any set of tuning machines into lock and tuning machines. The reason for that is the ball end can't pull through the hole in the shaft of the machine head. That's the same thing as a lock and tuning machine. when you lock it down, it just simply clamps down on that end of the string. So it keeps it from slipping. So you can get away with no wounds. And it makes things faster. String changes. Now, reverse stringing it does two things. One, it turns non-locking machine heads into locking tuning machines, which is very neat. The other thing it does, I go ahead and put at least a full wrap after, just anyway, because the other thing it does, especially without a locking nut, the pressure point for the strings are going to be that 90-degree bend that it takes when you clamp it, when it clamps into the locking mechanism. So, especially with lighter gauge strings, 9 times out of 10, if it's going to break, it's going to break right there at the bridge. And you know what happens if you got a floating trim and one breaks? Throws everything off. So, the reason you leave an extra wrap on it is if it does break, and you're lucky enough that it breaks right there, you simply loosen it, wind off a quarter turn, enough to put it back in, lock it back down, tune it back up, you're off and running. You don't have to change your whole set of strings. That has saved me more than once. I played out places. We actually played shows in the band I was in, but in practices and just in general, it's saved me several headaches by simply being able to do that, tune it back up, and have it ready to go in a minute or two. I got pretty quick at it at one point because I wear strings until they just won't hold tune anymore. They go dead. So it's a habit from when I was a kid. But anyway, that's my quick. Enough about that. Scalloped frets. Scalloped fret guitars are pretty cool. I hope this is picking it up. If you don't know what they are, they scoop them out all the way across. Basically, if you're the type of person that's heavy-handed, you're going to hate scalloped frets. I'll tell you that right now. If you're the type of person that just has to feel the fretboard under the string, you're not going to like this at all. Because if you push it all the way, especially up here, that's the note. But if you push it until it touches, listen, you got all these little weird vibrato bars. You're going to get a lot of wobbles and warbles. You don't want to do that. It is very strange looking, especially when you look down and you see your fingers just floating over the board. It's a little weird. Once you get down here and you're just playing, say if you're playing some lead or whatever, because your fingers aren't touching anything but the strings, and you've become very aware of how tactile the strings feel against your fingers when you're not touching the fretboard with them. Once you get way up here, if you notice, the scallops get less and less aggressive as you go up, and because the fret bars are closer together, it's not as easy to press it too hard because your finger kind of does what it does. I'm not going to say you're going to hate it. I'm not going to say you're going to love it. I can tell you what I feel about it is I really like playing it. It's fun. I got really lucky with this neck. It was straight. Fret ends were perfect. Only thing I had to do was lower the nut a bit, and I put this bar on there. Any of my any Fender style with a straight headstock, I try to put a bar, because string trees just seem like it puts weird pressure on a couple of strings and the rest not. So with the bar, it kind of evens out that pressure across the nut, and it keeps it, you know, you don't have more pressure on a few of the strings. It's just kind of spreads it out. I'm going to be honest with you. I started this video and I thought I had a lot to say about scallop frets, but it turns out there's really not a lot to say about scallop frets. I will suggest this may be an option for you as far as getting an affordable one. It's a crapshoot. Sometimes you get a great neck, sometimes you get a horrible mangled neck. I'm tired, it's hot, and I want to turn the AC back on. So this is going to be a really bad video. I don't even know, I don't even know if I can get 3 minutes of salvageable time out of this thing, but I'm going to try, because I promised myself I would give it a shot. So anyway, I've been Dave, and this is my purple scallop fret monstrosity, and hopefully we'll see you on the next video. Have a good one.